Good morning, and we're here with Father Arian Charles from the St. Christopher's Anglican Church in Superior, and this is Conversation with Anglicans. Welcome. How are you today, Father?
I'm fine today.
Okay, you're fine today. Okay, glad to hear that. Okay, so who is Reverend Arian Charles?
Well, very humble person. I think cool and characteristics. Always trying to discover, looking for something new, and a person always looking for progression at every level, I should say.
Okay, well, that's great. Where did you work before becoming a priest, or are you working presently while being a priest?
First of all, it is very difficult to do both priest work and the work that I used to do. That is an engineering field. Presently, I'm a full-time priest at this time. Before coming into the priesthood, my job was in civil engineering and where I used to work for private and governmental companies as a quantity surveyor, project manager, and those sort of things. When I decided to go to college, I halted those responsibilities and took on the task full time. I was hoping that when I came into the ministry that I would be able to do the two job at the same time, but and of course offer myself to work for the church in those areas. But unfortunately, things didn't work out as I planned or hoped it to be. So for now, I'm just a full-time priest until something else could be done.
Okay. So what was that aha moment when you decide, okay, this is exactly what I want to do?
Well, I don't think I reached the aha moment yet, to be honest. I think the priesthood is still something I'm discovering, because sometimes there are a lot of times when doubt comes in whether I've made the right choice in life in terms of career path. And then it's like serious battles at night, and then in the morning is like back to it in that sort of way. So I guess that it's like Paul in the 2 Corinthians that speaks about the thorn in your flesh. They continue questioning yourself whether you're worthy. One of my major questions about being a priest at this time is if I am worthy, if I'm able to live up to the standard that is required, because I take ministry and spirituality very, very serious. And seeing myself as a normal man in the midst of doing these work, sometimes I see myself as sometimes being unworthy, but sometimes I'm reminded that even the great prophets within the Bible, they themselves had personal challenges and so on. And it is a reason to give God praise in the midst of our sinfulness, our life challenges. Is an opportunity to call on God. So I haven't reached a point of saying, aha, just yet, this is it. I don't think I'll be able to reach that point at this time in the near future. But however, I am still discovering the mystery of the calling that which God has called me to at this point.
So is it things that are happening with you that cause you to question your ability? Because most of the time, you have to have the confidence in yourself. Is it somebody is telling you that you're not worthy enough, or you have that little voice in the back of your head saying you're not worthy, you are not worthy?
Well, it will always have people will always say he's a priest and he looks like a priest and he's not. That's not what priests look like and what is the something. So I guess that is one of the issues that I challenge. But however, there are certain things that happen. It doesn't prevent me from public criticism. Doesn't prevent me from going forward. As a matter of fact, it makes me stronger. So it doesn't allow public criticism to pull me back. Otherwise, I may not have been a priest today if I allow public criticism. But it's a question of being. It's a question of being and a question of spirituality and not being elated. I think is a biblical concept. And I was talking about Paul in 2 Corinthians, with the thorn in his flesh. And Paul says that, that he cried out to God 3 times to take it away, but God allowed it to be there so that he would not be too elated. So I think that in my humanness. I think I have a reason to call on God in my spiritual journey. So I'm not too elated. I'm not over myself and saying that oh, I'm holy, I'm sanctified, I am all that spiritual also, but also I'm on a journey of developing those aspects in my life. And it gives me a little reason to call on God, knowing that I'm not perfect as an individual. So I don't see it as something negative. I don't see it as something that will hamper the progress. I see it as something very healthy in terms of knowing that being elated or self-glorifying yourself in that sort of way that is the way to put it. I see that I'm not at that point of seeing myself above anybody else. I see myself as a normal little young man born in the very countryside who walk the street or ride bull cart and plant rice and gardening. I see myself still like that, in that sort of way. This shepherd boy, walking distances on the streets, like that. I cannot disconnect myself from the very common environment that I came from. But in the midst of that, I just have the responsibility of proclaiming the gospel and the good news of Jesus Christ.
Okay. So where are you from originally?
I was born in North Barpo, Kumoto Road, North Barpo. And then I moved about 3 kilometers away to Indian Walk, Mandingo Road, Princeton. Right, so I'm very country in both.
Okay.
So I went to school more opposite, very country school. Again, so most of my life I spent in the country area, among the cane farmers, the rice farmers, agriculture, cocoa farmers. As I said, mentioned some little bull cat there because I went to Barpo the other day on the election day, and I was able to see one of them again, and I was so happy to see that these are. I used to enjoy climbing plum tree and those sort of things. So I was born in North Barpo and still connected to them as we speak.
So that brought back some memories when you went to vote, right?
I think that those are my joys. Those common things of life, the beauty of the earth and the natural view of God's creation. I think it reminds me of why I am where I am today, because of I learned to appreciate the very simple things of life, and I try not to be too elated about anything that is great.
That's really good to hear. So who or what inspired you to become a priest?
Well, this conversation would have started from age 9. I would have overheard my father telling my mother at the time that he was having a discussion with the then mother of the church, Lady Mavis John. She was having a conversation maybe with another lay minister, and who was saying that this young man had the calling to be a priest.
Okay.
That was at age 9. So I guess when I heard that planted a seed within me, and I think that even through my secondary school and my academic quests, in the back of my head, I felt as though that one of these years I'm going to be a priest. And then the priest that I've known all my years would have been Archdeacon Primus. And somebody else that he in his way, in his early years, have helped me to want to be a priest as an individual. So it's a question of nurturing the call from age 9. And then there was a period in my life, just like any young adult, I moved away from the church for about a year, because at that time I wanted to discover what life was all about. And at that time I was at my high peak in terms of my career. At a very young age, in fact, about 19 years, I was already in engineering full time. And I remember the second calling came to me when I was about 20 years of age. God reminded me about the first calling. So I had a Jeremiah experience. And then at that second calling, I decided that I will become a lay minister and so on. And I worked with under the Archdeacon at that time, and then other persons within the church would have nurtured that in that St. Stephen's Church. Well, I was born in a church called St. Gregory, but then I moved to St. Stephen's because of my work within the same parish. And then within St. Stephen's, there were persons who were there, nurtured me in terms of saying to me, yes, you got a call in, you have the light upon you got the call about you, and that nurtured me until I accepted to go and do studies. And I started my studies at the Roman Catholic Seminary, that's at St. John Vianney, Uganda Matters, Mount St. I spent about 3 years there, and then I was accepted by Bishop Lord Berkeley when I went to Patricia Carrabon 2 years, and I came back here and I finished my degree in St. John VI. So I had a lot of people with me in the nurturing process. I spent a lot of time among the monks, doing retreats and so on. I spent a lot of time among the Roman Catholic. I always tell people that the Roman Catholic Church among the clergy, not the church. I never went to the church to say, but I spent some time among the Roman Catholic clergy, and they have helped me to see the calling in me. And I always thank Bishop Woodby for taking a risk. I always say he took a risk because it wasn't, because I myself might not take a risk immediately, but he took the risk.
Right.
Which I was able to withstand the various challenges that were there and able to become more successful. So I cannot blame my calling on myself, but more so for a community of people. My old, first of all, priest, my dad who was an engineer himself, and he supported me well. Right, and the church, St. Stephen's Church, and of course some of my good Roman Catholic friends who have helped in nurturing that calling that was within me.
So were you a Roman Catholic at a younger age and then converted to the Anglican church?
No, I was always Anglican.
Oh, you were always Anglican. Okay.
Yes.
You just spent a lot of time with the Catholics.
Yes, because I like monastic. As you can see, the castle that I have now is called the monastic way. I love monastic religiosity in terms of I love fasting and praying and chanting hymns and psalms. I like quiet moments by myself. Many times I'm not one of those guys who will see come out and praying like in public, but I'm very prayerful.
Okay. So because of, your journey and everything, have you seen anybody, whether it is in your parish or anywhere, that you think?
Young Michael Lawrence, because he came from the same parish of St. Stephen's. I used to take him along places where I used to go to preach and those sort of things. And I want to believe that someone or the other that have influenced him to be part of the clergy at this point in time. So that would have been one of my closest encounter with someone in terms of nurturing someone. And also, as priest now, what I try to do, I work on service ministry. I believe that the service ministry itself could be an avenue where we could generate clergy persons. And in this parish here, I would have found about maybe around 19 to 20 persons interested in serving, and 14 people who's really active in serving. And I'm hoping within the next couple of years or so, because they are pretty young, that someone that I could just have someone plant a seed within me, that I could plant a seed within them to consider the ordained ministry as an option.
Right. Okay. Well, that's great. That's great to really hear that, because like we had Shaquille and some of the John Paul, some of the other new priests that are coming up. And when I was growing up, we always had a mature priest, and we had people from overseas that came here. So it's nice to know, and it's nice to see that all our priests are local, and we have people that we're trying to make disciples. So this is really great to hear. Now, you talk about one of your Bible verses. What is your favorite Bible verse, may I ask?
Well, that statement is why
Loaded.
I love the Bible so much that that's one of the hardest questions I will ask. But however, I will look at the Gospel of John, chapter 15, from verse 1. I certainly love that area there, because it is one of my, it is what I consider to be transformative scripture for me. Seeing Jesus as a friend, more than just being his servant, and serve Jesus as though he's your friend. It was like when Jesus told his disciples that I'm no longer to be called, you're no longer to be called my servant, but my friend, because a servant does not know what the master is doing, but a friend do. And that was a scripture have sent me to a point in discovering what Christ wants of me as an individual, and do the right thing in terms of being his friend. And I link that also to
the hymn, what a friend we have in Jesus. You know, sometimes we sing that song at funerals and so on, and really doesn't get the whole message that is given to us, and all our sins and grief, to be able to privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. So I look at that, and my question therefore with that is to strive to be a friend of Jesus and live my life as a true friend, and by telling people about the great friend that I have in him. And that really is a personal relationship.
That is really nice to hear that. It's a different take for me hearing somebody say that, but I like that. I like it because like a friend, you can go to a friend, you can explain things that are happening to you to a friend. So this is great to hear. So what do you do when you're not doing the Lord's work? What's your favorite pastime to do when you're not in doing the regular work of a priest?
Well, these are huge parish. Those times are very limited. But however,
Limited.
I do a little gardening at times. I go back to the roots, to the things that I love, because I think most of everything that I've known alongside my father over the years would have been in sort of the gardening sort of atmosphere. I've learned a lot from about God through nature, because of his beauty of creation and the value that he has in creation, in which we are called, the value we are called to have with nature and also to each other. And I love to make long drive. I'm a real driver. I love to drive long distances. I will just get up one morning and decide to go to Miaro. As a matter of fact, I told some of my friends that my intention is to make a little tuko one of these days, right? And yeah, so I love driving.
Okay. What driving makes you just free to opportunity for you to think?
Yes. The stay on easy, I said that where's it from? Yeah. So I try to ease up my head a little bit by driving and looking at different places and having discussion around it and that sort of thing.
Okay. So you talked about liking gardening, and in this pandemic, you know there are going to be opportunities out there for us to change some of the things. So how has this pandemic affected you personally? How has it affected your congregation? And do you think gardening would be one of the things that you see yourself doing more of as we go through this pandemic?
Well, doing more of is one thing. I don't think I ever leave gardening
Okay.
at all. I always had the desire to go back to my birthplace and do agriculture maybe at a larger scale, but the resources are not so easily accessible too. What the pandemic have shown me is, thus far, is a new way of doing ministry. I was having a talk with one of my clergy brothers, and I said, if it's one thing that has happened now, is that you can have 50, 60 years, 20, 30 years of experience in the priesthood. The pandemic will only give us 6 months experience. And therefore, it brings every man, bishop, priest, and bishop, everybody at a level, because it's not a normal situation for all of us. And therefore, it requires creativity at this point in time. Creativity in terms of evangelizing, new ways of doing mission, new ways of applications, new ways of showing Christ's love and reaching out towards people. And this is what the pandemic is showing us at this point in time. Technology at this point in time, perhaps if it wasn't for this pandemic, might not be on this Zoom, perhaps it will be face to face, or perhaps it might not go on at all. So it really helps us to find new ways, a new normal, the way Christ, you can see Christ in this, because sometimes I believe that sometimes we have, according to scripture, sometimes we take for granted what God has given us, that level of freedom, that level of how we see church, and so on. And maybe the time has come for us to re-examine ourselves. So I myself is trying to find ways, just like everybody else, in dealing with it, but at this point in time, it's a new.
Something you would like to see today in this country, especially in the light of COVID and the racial tension that's happening presently?
What I would like to see, though, is the church, my church, the Anglican church, being a little more visible in the midst of social injustice and and all these different ills that face us. And when the racial tension started, it hurt me a little more, perhaps more than most clergy, because as I said again, I was born in Barco, and I was exposed to such a thing. I know how it is to be discriminated against in many different forms. I know it is for somebody to say, children, come. I don't have to care about the zoo no more. Look at the monkeys. I know. And also I understand what the discrimination is about in terms of even my hairstyle at one time was very well rejected by plenty and scorned by many. So when I heard the racial tension, I don't usually say much about social issues because I think I leave that for the senior person to do. But I think that God is calling our church to get more involved in the life of our society. And I sit as priest and I look around hoping that I will see that. With the racial tension, I haven't heard anybody, we have not made any major statement towards it. Perhaps we might be talking among ourselves, but I talk from a national level, because I think people still look at us, as much as we may believe, people still look at us and our leaders, our bishop, as a source for information and a source of wisdom. And I think sometimes the church have to capitalize on some of these, and I use capitalize not in a way to take advantage of, but most likely to see what our stance is. It has been a church that have been bashed from the 1960s, 1970s, have been a church of criminal background, or been a white person church, and we have suffered greatly for many years because of our inheritance. And if it's one church that has the testimony to give along the line of division and race relation, it would be the Anglican Church in Trinidad and Tobago. And that is a big historical background. If you look at history, you'll realize that. And in a country where we have around 26% East Indian, 25% 2% white or Lebanese and so on, Chinese and so on. It's a mixed sort of community, and we as a church have to evangelize the world. We cannot say this is an African church or this is an East Indian church or so. Our mission is for all people, rich, poor, Venezuelan, refugee, however you describe them. And therefore, our statement must always have that look. So therefore, we cannot see racial discrimination after a political party have won an election and the church don't say anything, because it will affect us, because it is what the gospel of Jesus said, breaking down the boundaries that divide us. That is one of the purposes Jesus came, to break that boundary that divides us. And when we don't say nothing about the walls that is created or the boundaries that are built, then it means that we support it. That's how it will look. Although I can't say our church doesn't support those sort of things, but we need to say something to say that we doesn't support it at all. So in the time of the pandemic, I for one I love how the Anglican Church dealt with the pandemic in terms of, it was plenty of people went to float and so on, but I think that we have been very respectful to the whole laws that was given by the government and so on, understanding that we had to take care of our members within the church, our senior members and so on. The social distancing, the practices, the new normal, the hand sanitizers, the signing, the checking temperature, all these different things. I think it was a tedious task for the church itself, but it was necessary because we want to make sure and preserve the lives of our citizens. One thing I would have liked to see is more our input in terms of decisions, in terms of closing the church. It shouldn't be a decision, and I'm not talking about the Anglican Church alone, but I'm talking about the church, Christianity, religious organization alone. There should be some sort of discussion between the religious bodies in terms of why and how we are going through this procedure, because of course it will affect us financially a lot, and the strain will go back to the very common man within the church. And if the strain goes to the common man, back to the church, the parish will suffer at that level, the region will suffer, the diocese will suffer, and of course the province will go through some financial strain. And therefore, the government have to understand that by closing down a religious institution, it have a business aspect of it as well. There are bills to pay and all these different things. And if there's no resources coming in within the time of the lockdown, then it could cause a serious dent in our churches' coffers for years to come. It will be very difficult to recover. And in that sense, I felt that we should have had a little deliberation with the government and explain to them. Well, I don't know if it happened, to be truthful, but explain to them.
Okay, so are there any committees that you currently head in the Anglican diocese? Or is there something else beside what you told us before that you would like to see, any kind of committee, any outreach program that you are doing right now?
Well, I don't have any committee in the Diocese of Trinidad and Tobago, more than the fact that I'm the parish priest at here, the parish of St. Christopher's. I'm basically focusing on parish ministry from this level. I'm involved in the sub-regional council.
What council was that?
The sub-regional council.
Okay.
And of course the clergy council, so where we meet and we have discussion along ways of moving the diocese forward and trying to find different solutions to different problems. So basically there's where I sit at this point in time. However, I would like to see, if I would like to see something, I would like to see a group set up within diocese that to help in dealing with the post-COVID or pandemic in terms of a recovery theme. I think is very necessary because the church will be affected badly. I think all know that team should be together with financial advisors and pastoral advisors and structural advisors in the way that we move forward, as put some short-term plan into place, some long-term plan into place, and that each parish could find that sort of comfort knowing that there's a team looking after their affairs, because a lot of persons who may not have the idea to move forward is not something that we are accustomed to, and therefore how the government have put that team together earlier in April month. I think we should have a team like that at this point in time, who can put things in place that when it starts to settle up, that we are able to find ways of generating funds and generating ideas and assisting the various or the weaker parishes to stabilize, or at least in turn stabilizing the diocese.
And you mentioned earlier about being involved in when they were closing church, and I'm sure just like any other parish, you have been affected financially in your parish. So that would be an opportunity for you all to do some things out there that's kind of like thinking outside the box. What have you or your church have done in order to bridge that gap between what you are used to getting financially and now with the COVID-19 you're not getting? Have you done anything to kind of help bridge that?
Well, in the first phase of COVID-19, when the church closed down in March, I appointed a team within a week after, a team with about 6 persons, because I tried to limit the numbers as much as possible. Well, the 6 persons included me, and we set up something like a better word, that task force in terms of reaching out back to the people differently. So what we have done, I can't say I, because it was a team effort. I've set up for each churches that I had. I appointed 2 persons in those churches to connect with the persons by phone call. Last year we had a database system done in the church where we try to get all information of every member within the church, from a baptismal, marriage, funerals, and then after for the Easter and the Palm Sunday service. Last year we had a register in the church in which we now have it on a database system of all members. So at least at this point in time, I could safely say we have a 95% connection to members. 95% of the members are easily connected to by a phone call or so. And I give the marriage, those who have marriage over the years, I give that to the Mothers Union, so they will call the people who are married to check on married couples. I give the youth, those who are confirmed, then the parish itself, and then some of the lay ministers will come to the office and make calls to the individual. So safely saying that we was able to remain in connection with our 95% of the members of the church. With that, however, we didn't suffer much from the effect of the pandemic, the couple of months that we were shut down, because we were able to maintain a steady income. Our income have dropped a lot in terms of, because this is a huge parish, and we had some huge festival which we estimated that we could have generated within that same period of time, maybe $280,000. But however, in terms of the tithes and offering, we were able to maintain 80% income. Still, we have loose offering, but we are able to get people to come and give in. And of course, people giving food items, people give donations in then different forms of ways. So the parish was able to be stabilized in the midst of the pandemic. It was stabilized. We didn't have no excess, so we was able to raise. We didn't have no excess money coming in, but we had enough money to stabilize, pay our bill, because what we have recognized, our expenditure is very hard to break down. But our income, we had also focus on generating income different ways. And we have found where people have been very, very generous to the church. People have given, people have paid the bills and all these other things. And all because we have connected with 95% of the congregation. The second phase here, I think I get caught sleeping here because I think plans was already in place to do certain things, and it just again pop up again. So we have another meeting very, very soon in which we'll see how we work out these next 20 odd days, 25 days or so in terms of how we find ways. But we have already put things in place, however, that we have explained to the members of the church that where our shortfall is and what it will take to stabilize the parish. And we have asked all parishioners to make a handsome donation, $250, $500, or $1,000 within the next month or so. And with that, we were able to manage the parish at least for the next 2 months or so. That's the estimate, because as I say again, we are able to share and do some teaching on stewardship, and we was able to sensitize the congregation in terms of how much money it takes to run the parish per month. And so it was easy for us to remind them and tell them, look, well, we have fallen short. And I think thus far it has been working well thus far in terms of people giving to the church. So those are some of the plans that we put into place, and it is working pretty well thus far. People work very hard on the ground, people go around with the people with the social distancing and so on, and was able to basically keep up in the giving. The members keep giving towards the work of the church.
Well, that's really good to hear, because in addition to your normal bills, now you have additional bills like sanitizer and paper towels and more soap and other things that you wouldn't have had if we didn't have the pandemic. So I'm glad to hear that. Okay. So just for a little comic relief, if I say a word, just tell me the first thing that comes to your head. Discipleship.
Jesus.
What was that?
Jesus, come to me.
Okay.
Of discipleship, yes.
Okay. Pet peeve. Punctuality. Discipline, okay. Family.
Love.
Okay. Friends.
Loyalty.
Right. Yes. I have never done what? And just tell me, tell me something you have never done that you would like to do.
Oh Lord.
You've done everything, huh?
No, I haven't done anything. But I mean, the question, I've never smoked, I've never done, but it's not that I want to do it. So maybe I want to bungee jump.
Really? Okay. So maybe you'll go back to the country, put some bungee jump among the trees, and then do that. Okay.
Yeah. Something.
I guess you're not afraid of heights, so.
No, I'm not afraid of heights. So.
Okay, great. So I want to thank you, but before you leave, is there anything that you would like to tell us or something you would like to let us know in passing?
One thing I would like to say, I think we sometimes as Christians take for granted what God has given unto us in that way. And sometimes we are distracted with so many things are wrong, and we distracted with things of the external. There's a greater part of life that comes from within us. And in spite of the differences that we may face, all of us are created in the image and likeness of God. And if there's one reason to reconcile, if there's one reason to love, if there's one reason for peace, if there's one reason for joy, it will be the fact that we're all created in the image and likeness. I believe if we begin to start our devotion that way, our mission that way, our ministry that way, our meetings that way, I believe that we as a church will be so relevant for this society. And we will have place to hold people within the church. We are called to see that God has created us in his image and likeness, and all of us have some level of value, no matter where we come from.
Yes. And we can serve in so many different ways because we all have gifts. We have different gifts. So you can serve wherever, your gifts carry you. So I want to thank you for that. We've been talking today to Father Aaron Charles from the St. Christopher's Anglican Church in Superior. Thank you very much. I am Pat Smith. We thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to let us know a little bit about yourself and give us like a little glimpse into who Father Aaron Charles is. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.